A commoner was very fond and obsessed with magic, but no matter how much knowledge he had in using it, his abilities were still limited. The status of his life became an obstacle to his dreams, causing him to be deprived of mana, which was the most important in the use of magic. So when he fought against a noble, his enemy set him on fire. But even though the fire was already consuming him, he was still amazed on the mana possessed by a noble. Before he died, he told himself that if he had possessed more mana, he would have learned more about magic. But then he suddenly woke up, and he was in a neat room with many servants. He thought that they were giants. He got scared and released a very powerful fireball. To his surprise, he was reincarnated as the seventh prince of Saloon Kingdom and was named Lloyd. He also inherited a lot of mana, which is way too much compared to the average noble. He took advantage of this opportunity to make his dreams come true. Those in the palace could not believe that he learned to speak immediately and loved to read a lot spell books. Even though he was a prince, he was not interested in the throne, and the only thing important to him was to learn different types of magic. He would usually escape from his servants to go to the library and read about magic. However, he could not escape from his teacher and bodyguard, named Sylpha, whenever it was time for their training. Using the control-type magic, he could just mimic all of her attacks. But because of the difference in their strength, stamina, and height, she could still defeat him. So he used magic again to keep up with her. He thought that he could win against her, but Sylpha knew that he was cheating. Despite that, she was still amazed that he could use 2 spells at the same time. What she did not know was that he had already used 4 spells at the same time. One day, he found out about the demon who was sealed in a book because it almost destroyed the whole kingdom of Saloon. It was called a grimoire, and was currently in the palace's forbidden underground library. He did not waste any more time and immediately went to this library out of curiosity. Even though there were many guards assigned in the area, he still managed to get in, and even broke the seal on the door easily. He could not believe that in his 10 years of living in the palace, he just found out that there was such a library with so many books about magic. When he was about to read a book, the grimoire suddenly appeared. The demon made a deal with him that if Lloyd released him, he would teach him ancient magic. Since Lloyd wanted to learn more about it, he agreed to the demon's offer. But after he removed the seal, the demon suddenly attacked him. The demon thought that he was dead, but he was shocked to see that Lloyd had created a barrier. The demon attacked him repeatedly, but it did not work on the barrier. Instead of fear, Lloyd felt amazed while looking at the demon's attack. He even absorbed the power on his finger to find out its composition, and also to feel how harmful it was. The demon was so angry that he could no longer hold back, and used a dual incantation. He thought that he would be able to kill Lloyd this time, but it still did not work, and Lloyd was just amazed by it. When he realized that Lloyd was not an ordinary child, he tried to escape, but Lloyd had already set up a barrier in the library. Since Lloyd had already seen the demon's attacks, he also wanted to see its defense magic. He attacked the demon with his Enchanting, but his opponent was so scared and unable to block his attack. Since the grimoire could do nothing against him, Lloyd restored the library to its previous order. Then the demon decided to serve Lloyd as his familiar. But he was taller than Lloyd, so the 7th prince transformed him into a small form. Lloyd told him to hide in his cape, so Grimoire thought of taking this opportunity to control Lloyd's mind and take over his body. But when he clung to Lloyd's body, he was shocked when he felt that Lloyd had strong mana. He could not even move out of fear. Then he suggested to Lloyd to call him by the name Grim. A few days later, while Lloyd was reading in the library, his brother and 2nd prince, named Albert, came to visit him. He invited him outside to do what they love whenever they were together. Since Lloyd did not want them to be suspicious of him, he deliberately suppressed his magic as he hit the targets. After a while, Albert decided to rest first and allowed him to play if he wanted to. He was very happy when he heard this because he could practice the magic that he wanted to try, like Grim's double incantation trick. But Grim clarified that only demons could do this trick because they had 2 mouths. Surprisingly, Lloyd had a plan in his mind, and he put Grim in his palm so that he could have the 2nd mouth. They tried Enchanting first, but Grim had nosebleed because he did not expect that Lloyd could use spell stacking. In order to keep Grim safe on the 2nd attempt, Lloyd decided to control its mouth. With this, he managed to execute the double incantation. He could not hide his excitement as he was doing the magic. It was so strong that the people outside the palace had noticed it in the sky. Meanwhile, Albert's butlers wondered why he was paying attention to Lloyd. So Albert told them that what Lloyd had shown earlier was done on purpose. He believed that Lloyd was a prodigy and could possibly become a grand sage one day. If this happened, Lloyd would be a great help to him. When a butler looked out the window, he was surprised that the sky had darkened even though it was not yet night time. It turned out that Lloyd's double incantation had created a hole in the sky. Fortunately, it immediately returned to normal before Albert noticed it. However, other people saw it, and the next morning, it was published in the newspaper. But a different news article had caught Lloyd's attention, and it was about the A-ranked adventurers who successfully completed the difficult dungeon. He also learned that they gained powerful items, so he thought of trying to go to the dungeon as well. Then he created his clone, so his servants would not look for him. However, he knew that he could not deceive Silpha with it. So he decided to leave Grim in the palace, who disguised as him. When everything was settled, he immediately left to look for a dungeon. As he searched the land, he saw a woman being chased by orcs. But when she had the chance to fight, that was when she eliminated the orcs. As he watched her, Lloyd was amazed by her strange way of breathing. She also noticed his presence, but he was avoiding being recognized, so he hid from her. Then she approached him. Fortunately, he managed to change his appearance. He introduced himself as Robert, who was a rookie adventurer. The woman also introduced herself as Tao, the B-rank adventurer. She was fascinated by Lloyd's appearance, so she thought that she would make him her boyfriend. She found out that Lloyd was looking for a dungeon, so she immediately decided to come along. When they entered a dungeon, she showed off her skills, but Lloyd was just busy picking up the glowing stones. After some time, they decided to rest and eat too. They also talked about Tao's use of chi breathing technique while she was fighting. She did not expect that Lloyd would notice this because only few people on the continent knew about it. She explained to him how to do it, so after they ate, Lloyd tried it too. Seeing that Lloyd was interested in this technique, she decided to teach him. As they continued, they reached the boss of the dungeon and quickly defeated it. But when they were about to open the treasure chest, Lloyd saw the incoming attack, so he immediately pulled her away from it. It was a lich, so Tao got worried and pushed Lloyd out of the area. She could not believe that this kind of creature was in a low-level dungeon because even the A-rank adventurers were having a hard time defeating it. She wanted to give Lloyd time to get out of the dungeon, so she decided to fight the enemy with all her strength. The lich spoke to her and found out that she was using a chi technique. Then he insulted the chi technique, saying that it was just the same as lower form magic. This made Tao so angry, causing her to attack the lich relentlessly until she was able to break its barrier. However, the enemy managed to avoid it, and he retaliated at her. Fortunately, Lloyd came just in time to save her. When she was about to ask why he came back, she noticed on his face the eagerness to fight the lich. Lloyd took this opportunity to use what he learned from Tao. As the lich attacked him, he tried to combine his chi and mana. But he was struggling because of the lack of air, so he decided to remove his barrier. The lich immediately attacked him, but he could easily dodge them. As soon as he perfected the technique that he created, he took his turn to attack the enemy repeatedly. He made each of his attacks stronger until the lich could no longer keep up against him. Before they went out the dungeon, they opened the treasure chest, but it only contained a dagger. Lloyd could feel the mana essence on the item, so he begged Tao if he could bring it home. After their adventure, Lloyd quickly went home because Grim was already complaining. It turned out that he had already been beaten during the training with Silpha. The next morning, he began to examine the dagger. And as expected, there was indeed mana essence placed in it. He created more of this, analyzed it with the water class spell Purifex, and he was able to see the ingredients put into it. It had oil, silver and hematite, and since they already have hematite, they only needed to get oil and silver. He went to the king and asked for silver, then asked Silpha for oil. After finishing the mana essence, he approached Albert to borrow swords that he would use in his test enchantment magic. Albert's soldiers could do nothing but lend Lloyd their swords. He immediately filled them with mana essence, and when he was done, he returned them to Albert. When Albert looked at a sword, he could not believe at what Lloyd had done to it. A soldier thought that nothing had changed in their sword, but they were surprised that it split his sheath. Lloyd told his brother that he wanted to see what the swords could do in actual combat. Fortunately, the king had an order to get rid of the monsters, so he let Lloyd come along. But before they even reached their destination, the kobolds attacked them. It turned out that Lloyd had been feeling their presence for a while using the spectral detection and through the chi technique. The soldiers could not believe that their swords became so sharp. A kobold suddenly rushed at Lloyd, but Tao suddenly came and managed to stop it. Tao noticed that Lloyd was doing the chi breathing and that he had similarity to Robert. Silpha also attacked the kobold that was about to attack Tao, and she warned her not to come closer to Lloyd. That was the moment that the girls prepared to fight, so Albert tried to calm them down and invited Tao for dinner. At night, when they arrived at their destination, Tao informed them about her job to repair the old shrine that was on top of the hill. Just a few moments later, the monster that they were looking for suddenly appeared to them. It was a bear wolf, and while the soldiers were fighting it, Grim felt something strange in the shrine. After Tao hit the bear wolf, Albert attacked it with his Purlance Incinus. The power from his attack was so strong, so he thought that it might be because of the enchantment that Lloyd put on his spellbound sword. They thought that they had defeated the bear wolf, but they were surprised when it rose up, and the other bear wolves came to them. After a while, a demon came out of the bear wolf's mouth and introduced himself as Pazuzu. Albert ordered the soldiers to attack the bear wolves, and even though they sliced their bodies, the creatures regenerated quickly. Grim knew that Pazuzu was using mana transmutation, causing the bear wolves' wounds to regenerate quickly. This was also the reason why the demon was able to control them. So until Pazuzu was defeated, the bear wolves would continue to regenerate. Lloyd got interested and begged Grim to teach him mana transmutation. When Pazuzu noticed Silpha, who kept her watch to protect Lloyd, he said that Lloyd was just scared and coward. Because of this, Silpha was insulted, so she asked Lloyd for permission to join the battle. Pazuzu still did not stop talking, so Silpha begged him to shut his mouth because he had bad breath. Pazuzu became angry at her. He immediately attacked Silpha, but she was so fast and got ahead of him. The demon healed his wound quickly, but Albert noticed that the regeneration of the other bear wolves seemingly slowed down. As they continued to fight, Lloyd was busy studying the mana transmutation. Soon, Grim was surprised that he was able to do it perfectly. After Silpha knocked the demon down, she borrowed one of the soldiers' swords. Before she could attack, Pazuzu took the opportunity to strike her. But it turned out that she was ready to use the dual-blade art Twin Dragons Rising. Then she followed it up with Diving Sparrow and Double Tiger Claw and Fang. She was about to defeat the demon, but Pazuzu suddenly released a miasma. And those who smelled it became weak and could not stand anymore. Pazuzu retaliated in a way that Silpha failed to block. He attacked again. Fortunately, it was blocked by Tao. After Silpha told Tao to go to Lloyd, she lost consciousness. Pazuzu quickly attacked Tao, and he also found out that she was using the chi breathing technique. That's why she was not affected by his miasma. Tao was able to knock him with his Thunderquake Pulse, but she was suddenly attacked by a bear wolf. It turned out that they had also recovered, and this was the moment when Pazuzu used the maximum dominance miasma, causing Tao to weaken as well. Pazuzu took Silpha to make her one of his disciples. But Lloyd suddenly spoke to him, and he was surprised that the seventh prince was not even affected by the miasma. The demon also noticed Grim, and aside from wondering why a demon like him was with a child, he also laughed at his new appearance. Grim intended to warn Pazuzu to stop, but because of its insulting words, he changed his mind. When Pazuzu ordered the bear wolves to attack, Lloyd took the opportunity to use the mana transmutation. Because of this, the bear wolves remembered their parents who were killed by Pazuzu. Then Lloyd ordered the one who ate Tao to spit her out. Pazuzu tried to control the bear wolves once again, but they just attacked him. When he realized that his miasma no longer worked to the bear wolves, he decided to beat them up. Then he showed his true power, so Lloyd also released his strong mana, causing Pazuzu to be dumbfounded. In Grimm's mind, Pazuzu must have realized how dangerous Lloyd was. Lloyd tried to lock him up, but Pazuzu quickly dodged the barrier. Pazuzu knew that Lloyd did not want to fight him anymore and just wanted to lock him up. And if this happened, it would definitely be the end of him. With Grimm's help, Lloyd managed to double the number of barriers that he created. It did not take long and he finally caught Pazuzu. The demon even tried to reconcile with Lloyd, but the seventh prince did not listen to him and started what he wanted to do with Pazuzu. He conducted several tests until the demon could no longer handle Lloyd's experiment on him. After a while, Albert and the others started to regain consciousness, so Lloyd quickly approached them to let them know that Robert came to save them. When Pazuzu disappeared, Grimm absorbed his mana. While Lloyd was telling the story of what happened, that was when Town noticed that she was wearing a poncho. Lloyd also pointed where Robert went, so she could leave and not suspect him. When they got home and met the king, Albert suggested to their father that Lloyd must be considered as part of the royal succession. But when the king asked Lloyd about this, Lloyd immediately refused to be part of it. After the mission, a bear wolf had joined them, so Lloyd decided to adopt it. He named it Shiro because of the color of its fur. He wanted to teach it different commands, but he was having a hard time. Silpha came and suggested to ask help from the sixth princess or Princess Elise who love animals. The princess had her own tower where her pets lived. They went to pay a visit, and this made Princess Elise happy that she saw her brother. She knew that their visit had something to do with the bear wolf. When Lloyd asked if they could see her monster pet, they were surprised because they did not even notice that it was already behind them. Lloyd knew that Elise did some technique on her pet, so he immediately begged her to teach him. Princess Elise told him that the key in communicating with animals is love. Through this, they would be able to easily understand these creatures. However, Lloyd noticed that Elise was able to release mana from her head that she was not even aware of. This might be the reason why the animals understand what she wanted to tell them. He tried it on Shiro, and he did it successfully. For this reason, Shiro already understood what Lloyd wanted him to do. After they came out of the tower, Albert called them. He told Lloyd that someone wanted to talk to him, and it turned out to be his older brother or the fourth prince, named Dien. Prince Dien was a blacksmith, and found out what Lloyd did to Albert's spellbound sword. He wanted to know if Albert was telling him the truth because he was also interested in enchantments. Lloyd granted his request, but when he was done, they could not believe what their youngest brother did to the sword. He immediately decided to ask for Lloyd's help because he knew that with his help, he would be able to create his dream, which was the ultimate spellbound sword. Apart from this, he also wanted their kingdom to become one, where everyone could use magic by holding a spellbound sword. Lloyd was interested in this, so he agreed to help Dien. But as soon as they started, the steel where they placed the enchantment was easily crushed. Lloyd changed the enchantment, but the result was still the same no matter how many times they repeat the process. While Lloyd was wondering what the problem was, Grimm noticed something strange on the mana essence. That was when they found out that Dien only bought the cheap mana essence. So Lloyd used pure effects with it, but they also needed more hematite. Since Dien ran out of stock, they would need to go to the dungeon. Fortunately, the king allowed Lloyd to register in the Adventurers Guild. They did not waste time and immediately went to the guild to register. However, they needed at least one B-rank adventurer if they choose the dungeon quests. And that was the moment when Lloyd found out that Silpha was the well-known legendary A-rank adventurer who was called the Silver Blader. But since Silpha had to register again, she would be demoted as C-rank adventurer. Tao suddenly came and volunteered to accompany them because she was a B-rank adventurer. Before they left, Lloyd found out that even though Silpha was an amazing adventurer, there was a group that she failed to defeat. It was the Assassin's Guild that consisted of 6 members. Then they went to their mission to get what they needed in the dungeon, and after a few hours, they were back at the palace. Because of this, Dien was able to successfully create the ultimate spellbound sword. At night, when Lloyd was about to rest, he suddenly felt that someone was in the central garden. He went to the intruder, and this person tried to run away, but she failed because Lloyd quickly installed a barrier. In this situation, she was forced to use her poison, causing Lloyd to immediately weaken. She introduced herself as Rin, who was a blighted or the poison blighted. Then she broke Lloyd's barrier and left the garden. Lloyd just let her go, so that he could follow her and trace their hideout. He was sure that she was a member of the Assassin's Guild. A few minutes after Ring came to their hideout, Lloyd suddenly appeared to them. Galilea recognized him immediately, so Rin found out that he was the seventh prince. He removed his barrier to fight them because each member had different abilities. The first to attack him was Babylon or the Warp Blighted. He has amazing flexibility as if he had no bones. The next who attacked him was the Crow or the Curse Blighted. This was immediately followed by Galilea's attack, who was a Web Blighted. Because of the sticky webs, he decided to take off his jumper. When Talia attacked, she suddenly stabbed her thigh on purpose, and this directly affected him because she was the Pain Blighted. They thought that Lloyd was feeling scared, but they were surprised when the seventh prince just healed his wound. Since he saw their attacks, he wanted to see how they would defend. He imitated Silpha, so Galilea remembered the swordswoman who gave him trauma. He tried to attack one of them, but Babylon was easily defeated. Galilea and Crow tried to attack him, but he managed to trick them. He defeated Crow first, and then he immediately attacked Talia and Galilea. Galilea tried to attack again, but Lloyd did something to his mana which caused his defeat. Rin thought that he just did a simple attack, but Galilea was shocked that Lloyd was able to control his mana. Since it worked on Galilea, Lloyd did the same to others, then he healed their injuries. The Assassin's Guild showed their gratitude. They also considered Lloyd a member of the group and had a welcome party. After a while, Galilea informed him about their other member, or the Phantom Blighted, named Jade. His ability was teleportation, but he could not control it, causing him to suddenly teleport himself to different places. One day, he showed them their guild emblem. They would take jobs that adventurers could not do, and they would leave a coin like this to make people recognize them. A few moments later, a letter appeared that had the same stamp of their emblem. The sender stated that he had already deposed the leaders of the Lordus who were preparing for war, making him the new leader of the kingdom. As a promise, they could now come to that place, so they could live there together. They decided to head there, and Ren asked Lloyd if he wanted to come along. Before Lloyd answered this, he clarified to them the possibility that Jade might have controlled his mana because he was able to send a letter to them. They thought that it might be a trap, but others believed that Jade probably managed to control his ability through training. Lloyd said that there was no need for him to come, but he would still go with them because he was interested in Jade's teleportation. They immediately traveled, and to get to the Lordus quickly, Lloyd used his power. On the other hand, Silpha and Shiro suddenly arrived at the hideout of the Assassin's Guild. When they saw Lloyd's letter, they immediately brought it to Albert. At first, they did not think something bad happened to the seventh prince. But when Silpha showed what happened to Lloyd's clothes, that's when they decided to go to Lordus. When Ren's group could no longer bear the speed of their travel, they begged Lloyd to stop for a while. They decided to rest and eat because starting from their location, they would need to walk towards the Lordus kingdom. While they were eating, they also told the story of the day when Jade confessed something to them. He was the third son of the Lordus leader and admitted that he just used them. He wanted to find allies to stop the war that his family was fighting for a long time. But it turned out that the Assassin's Guild already suspected that he was a noble, and only Rin was surprised by this. They did not care about Jade's true identity, and accepted him because he was the one who gave them hope. After a while, Lloyd felt sleepy, so Galilea picked him up. When they were near the Lordus castle, they decided to let Lloyd rest while they watched around the castle. They wanted him to be ready in case something unexpected happened. When they started their observation, they found out that what was written in the letter about the party was true. Suddenly, someone approached them and asked if they were the Assassin's Guild. He brought them to the party, and after a while, Jade went to them. They were so happy to see Jade again, and showed their tears of joy. Grim was about to leave to pick up Lloyd, but they were surprised when those near them revealed their true form as demons. Jade made them all kneel to the ground, so the demons could possess them. But Grim immediately attacked Jade to let them run towards Lloyd. And before he could say who Jade was, Grim was kicked out of the palace. Grim was thrown to where Lloyd was, and that caused Lloyd to wake up. Then he learned about the situation of their companions. Jade was possessed by a demon, that's why his ability was used to bring other demons from the netherworld and the kingdom. Then he introduced himself as Garm, and informed them that Jade was already dead. He told them the story of the hardship that Jade went through during the time when he was trying to control his body. Jade knew that the other members of the Assassin's Guild were the next target, so he did everything to protect them. After a while, Garm wondered about the marks on them because it was not in Jade's memory. He asked Rin who did this to them, but Rin bit her tongue so she could not speak. Lloyd suddenly came, and after he put a barrier on his companions, he attacked Garm and the other demons. With the force of his attack, it created a very deep hole. He went down to heal Rin's tongue, and since he knew that Garm's group was targeting the Blighted, he told them to run. One of the demons thought that Garm was dead, so he was kicked away when Garm appeared, and ordered Ither demons to go after the Assassin's Guild members. But Lloyd would not just allow them to catch up with his friends. Because of this, another demon rushed at him, but Garm also attacked, causing the demon to be hit. Grim knew that Lloyd had realized that Garm was no ordinary demon. So he explained about the 10 levels of demons, and those chasing his friends were definitely in the 10th class. It was possible that Pazuzu was in 8th class, and he was in 3rd class. The problem was that Garm was not just a 1st class because he was a netherworld royalty and a demon lord. Even 100 1st-class demons would not win against their enemies his strength. When Garm found out that Lloyd was the 7th prince, he seemed to remember something from Jade's memory. Although he forgot what it was, he felt that Jade wanted to get to know Lloyd even more. Grim suggested to Lloyd that they run away too, but Lloyd had no intention of following him. After Garm's attack, it almost went through Lloyd's barrier even though he used a heavy-duty barrier. Then Garm increased the number of his attack to test how long Lloyd's barrier would last. Since he could not break the barrier, he used teleportation to kick the barrier towards his attack. Fortunately, Lloyd was able to quickly defend against Garm's attack. Galilean and the others who were still at the gate could not believe in the battle that they were witnessing. While the enemies were getting closer to them, they asked Babylon to open the gate quickly. Garm decided to explain to Lloyd why they wanted the Blighted as their vessels. Because of their situation, other people hated them. He believed that a Blighted could only reach its full potential if they become the vessel of a demon. To make his words believable, he showed Lloyd what he could do after he possessed Jade's body. Garm attacked which the 7th prince failed to avoid because of its speed. He even followed it with several attacks to make sure that Lloyd would be dead. When the enemies were close to Ren's group, Galilea and Crow fought them to buy time. After a while, Babylon was able to open the gate. When Ren and Crow were about to come out, the demons managed to free themselves from the webs. So Talia used her power to prevent the enemies from getting close to them again. Talia planned to stay behind, so the others could escape, but Galilea also decided to accompany her. Galilea fought the demons alone to give Talia enough time to prepare. Garm thought that Lloyd was dead, but he was surprised when he turned into stone. That was the moment when Lloyd moved to attack him, so he immediately teleported. Lloyd felt that someone was coming, and he begged Garm if they could fight somewhere else. It turned out that Albert's army had arrived at the gate, so Talia could not do what she was planning. Ren's group felt relieved because finally, someone came to help them fight the enemies. But they were silenced when Albert confronted them first. Silpha asked them where Lloyd was. When Ren was about to tell the truth, Babylon immediately covered her mouth. He remembered that Lloyd begged them earlier that if they encountered someone from the Saloon Kingdom, they should not talk about his true strength and about Grim too. For this reason, Ren said that Lloyd was currently fighting a weak creature. But Silpha did not believe her. Fortunately, Albert calmed her down. They thought that Albert was defending them, but he told Silpha that he just wanted to fight the adults first before the child. So Ren decided to tell the truth that Lloyd was fighting someone to avenge their friend. He was suddenly attacked by a demon, but luckily, Liru came to save him. Elise begged her brother to believe what Ren had said. So Albert agreed to this and assigned Silpha to find Lloyd. Ren was about to stop Silpha when Garm suddenly aimed at the bridge and destroyed it. But the demons still swam across the water to get to them. It turned out that Lloyd intended for Garm to hit its attack on the bridge, so Silpha could not cross. The two of them continued to fight while Albert's group tried to stop the demons. Silpha was still trying to cross to the other side, but it was too far. Since Shiro missed Lloyd so much, he forced himself to cross, but he just fell into the river. Silpha was about to try to jump too, but she was suddenly attacked by a demon. It turned out that it was different from the other demons because it belonged to the 8th class. While Albert was busy thinking about what they should do to the people possessed by demons, he was suddenly attacked by another demon. Fortunately, Babylon acted quickly to stop the enemy. Babylon knew that Albert was hesitant to kill the demons, so he told him that there was no hope in bringing back the people who were possessed by the demons. That was when Albert decided to use his Infernum Immortier to eliminate their enemies. Since Silpha knew that she was facing a strong demon, they had a good fight. They exchanged their respective techniques using their swords, while the others were just stunned as they watched them. However, the wounds inflicted on the demon could heal easily. Since the demon saw the skill of Silpha, it lost interest in the blighted and chose Silpha's body to turn into a vessel. It attacked again using the Lordus style, which was one of its vessel's extreme techniques. He thought that he was winning against Silpha, but when it was her turn to attack, Silpha used the Great Tengu, which was one of the blade forms of the demon. The demon could not believe that Silpha had copied his technique, so she told him that she only learned it after she saw it earlier. She called out to Shiro, who had just climbed up, then she took the sword that Lloyd had given her. Lloyd made it on purpose so that she could use the full potential of her power. Using her new sword, she no longer needed to worry in case she encountered a demon again. However, the demon was still confident that he could not be defeated by Silpha's sword. He tried to parry Silpha's attack, but it caused his immediate death. After what they witnessed, Galilea and Crow confirmed that Silpha was indeed the silver blader they fought before. While Garm continued to attack Lloyd, the 7th prince was still busy thinking how he could stop his opponent. He knew that the moment the mana spears hit him, it would surely be the end of him. Aside from this, he also had a problem with a cursed speech that could enter inside the barrier. And he had to move very fast because there was also Shadow Wolf attack. After a while, he decided to attack again using the double casting of Seismoterrasier and Infernum Immortier. But as expected, Garm just avoided it, and this caused the spread of steam, so he used spectral detection. When he found it, Grimm told him to move so that the Shadow Wolf would not catch him. But he asked himself why Garm did not attack him earlier even though the demon had a chance to do it. So he thought that it might be because of the steam, and it became an obstacle to trace him. Then he took this opportunity to attack with a parade of dolls. But Garm immediately thought that whoever held the real sword was the real Lloyd. The demon thought that he had captured the 7th prince, but Lloyd just made one of his clones hold his sword. Lloyd quickly took his sword while Garm was still busy looking for him. Garm thought that Lloyd would attack from above, but he was attacked behind him. Then Lloyd created more clones and they surrounded Garm. To make it easier for Garm to track him, he used a lot of mana spears. When he saw the barrier, he immediately moved to catch Lloyd. He thought that it was the real Lloyd, but still got the wrong one. It turned out that Lloyd just put a barrier on it to make it look the real one. Garm just continued to attack, but he had no idea that Lloyd was using Obscure to hide his presence. Lloyd just needed to hit his enemy with the sword, which was a spell taker on the Shadow Wolf. Through this, he was able to analyze the Shadow Wolf. However, Grimm still preferred to just run while Garm had not tracked them yet. But he knew that it would not happen because Lloyd surely would not stop until he got what he wanted. When Lloyd hit the Shadow Wolf, he started looking for Jade. A few moments later, the whole area suddenly lit up, and it was as if Jade sent something to him that he immediately understood. After that, he removed all his clones and showed himself to Garm. When Garm noticed the wound on Lloyd's face, he thought that the 7th prince did not create a barrier to protect himself. He was about to attack Lloyd, but the 7th prince managed to hit him first. Lloyd used the chi technique, so that Garm could definitely feel the pain of his punch. Garm could not believe how Lloyd managed to track where he would teleport. Lloyd asked Garm what Jade had said before he died. Then he remembered that Jade told him that one day, he would surely lose in a fight. Garm was so angry that he tried to attack again, but Lloyd just caught him. He was beaten by Lloyd, and no matter what teleportation he did, it's still of no use. As they continued, Lloyd used the combined Infernum Immorcier and Tempesta Ventercier. Before Garm fell into the lava, he was able to use Shadow Wolf, but Lloyd could still catch him until he stopped attacking the demon. So Garm got the opportunity to use his Mortal Dark Sphere. When he threw it at Lloyd, it suddenly disappeared, causing him to sweat in fear. It turned out that Lloyd just erased it using the same technique. Garm could not believe that Lloyd could easily do a technique, like the Supreme Demon Lord art. He teleported and planned to attack Lloyd, but he suddenly felt Lloyd's terrifying mana that even Grim trembled in fear. Lloyd asked Garm if he could be killed by his void, then he attacked the demon using it. Meanwhile, the others could not see anything, so they thought to wait for the sunrise. But when Albert looked at the clock, he was surprised because it was already past 6 in the morning. They looked up, and realized that it was not the sky. At that moment, Lloyd's attack was trying to engulf Garm. The demon tried to abandon Jade's body, but he failed. Since he was desperate to escape, he pretended to be Jade. But Lloyd did not believe him, so Garm asked the others for help to kill Lloyd. But it did not work either until he completely disappeared, and the real sky appeared to them. Ren recalled the day when Jade mentioned to them about Lloyd for the first time. Although most people believe that a massive fireball was seen when Lloyd was born, Jade still strongly suspected that it was Lloyd who did it. If his suspicions were correct, Lloyd might be able to help them remove the curse from their powers. After the battle, Lloyd made a grave for Jade while the soldiers helped each other to make a grave for other people who were possessed by demons. Lloyd thought that he did not win his fight with Garm because it was Jade who won it. Ren had been listening to him for a while, and she wanted to thank Lloyd for what he did. But Albert approached his brother, so they could talk about Ren's group. Because of the sins committed by the Assassin's Guild, and for bringing him in a war, the members of the guild needed to be locked up. But the Assassin's Guild said that they would serve Lloyd for life as compensation for what they did. Albert wanted to know what was Lloyd's plan to these people. He warned Lloyd that if he chose to take them in, it was not like adopting an animal. In case he accepted the Assassin's Guild members and they did something wrong, it would be his responsibility. Lloyd understood what Albert meant, and he knew that the Assassin's Guild members understood his concerns too. And said that if they did something wrong, he was willing to take responsibility for it. Fortunately, Albert did not disagree with his decision and still supported him. After a while, Tao suddenly arrived. She found out what happened to Lloyd, but when she realized that the battle was over, she left immediately. But Albert sent Silpha to stop Tao because he had not been able to thank her properly. After releasing the Assassin's Guild members, they had a little party to celebrate their victory. This is the end of the last episode of I was reincarnated as the 7th prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. I hope you like it, and give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss newly uploaded videos. Thank you for watching.